Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. It is Friday and we're going to be looking at the news. We're going to be looking, it's been a weird week. It's been a really weird week. And we're going to just kind of cover some of the interesting highlights, hit some of the, maybe do some politics. We might offend some people. Hope you don't mind. But what we're going to do here is we're going to have a look at some of the articles. We're going to discuss some philosophy. We're going to discuss some life, and we're going to see how things pan out. So Haddock Dev is now on Ubuntu Mate. Sweet. How's that working for you, Joey Dawes? How's it going? Is that a cat? Is that cat a stuffed toy or whatever? It never moves. No, he moves a little bit. I mean, particularly if I do this. Kitty, kitty. Hi. Yeah? He moves. Whoa! Went back to my intro screen again. Oh, well. There we go. So, anyway, yeah, he is a real cat. He does move. In fact, he's moving right now, in fact. Let's see. KO 2610, how's it going there? Oh, and salutations. Yes, Joe Collins, greetings and salutations. We'll be talking a little bit about Joe Collins today, in fact. Hey, Albert Crow, JJ Game, how's it going there? Nothing I'm used to, that's for sure, but it's working fine for most parts, just reinstalling my apps, trying to get my Broadcom card working, though. Tip, don't get one. Yeah, if you have, let's see, you're on 16. If you're on Ubuntu 16, it should work. I thought they had that fixed. If not, try 16.01. That should work just fine. The cat is like... The other cat is in the other room howling. That's always very annoying. I have to figure out why. Yes, I stuck my head in a lawnmower. Hope y'all like it. Stuck my head in a lawnmower. Alright, so today, hey Fidel, how's it going there? Alright, so today we're going to be talking about a few categories, actually just 3 or 4. Privacy and security, I'm clumping that together as one. Silencing the enemy is our feature topic. We're going to talk about bad business and a few things on the scammy front. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in with our privacy and security videos. If I can find my privacy section. There's my privacy section. Alright, so let's go ahead and have a look at some articles. First, this is a neat one to start on. Tech companies and law professors agree that the Fourth Amendment should protect data. This is following along those trends. We've talked about a few articles like this in the past. Particularly at the center here is that question of can police use location data from your cell carrier to without a search warrant on you? Can they just do a court order from them and get that information? Because that is a lot less intensive to get a court order than it is to get a warrant. And that is kind of at the center of this. Now, of course, the tech companies and the law professors agree that the Fourth Amendment should protect data. Of course, a lot of the, some people disagree with that. And so, it's still there. But this is something that's still kind of being discussed. So, of course, the background on this particular story is there's this guy, Carpenter, who was basically, his occupation was a bank robber, and they tracked down who he was by locating, by observing that his cell phone always pinged in areas that he was at. And the question is, can they use that data or not in the prosecution? Because they did not have any warrant. And the question is our private data protected under the Fourth Amendment? And I really think it should. And not only should it be protected under the Fourth Amendment, but we need stronger data laws so that me as a private person has my data protected against any company I do not want to have that data. So for example, Facebook, if I choose not to do any business with Facebook, I want to have the ability to say, no, Facebook may not have any data or may not have any data that I do not directly give to them. But that is so outside the model. If that happened to go away, that would actually hurt a lot of business. In my opinion, good. I'm not against ads. Show me ads relevant to the things that I'm seeing. Show me ads relevant to the website. Show me ads relevant to the video I just clicked on. That's not a problem. But all this mass data collection itself gives me a problem, especially since we have hackers and all this other things. If you didn't catch it, this afternoon I did an impromptu live stream because the scammer kept calling me. Like 3 times the guy called me. And I believe that they got the data because some college that I'd sent an application to over a decade ago decided to keep all that stuff on file on some internet server somewhere. Some hacker got in and stole it. They got my email. They got my phone number. So now I get emails constantly for, sex toys and all sorts of other crap in my inbox. All because, and I believe that it was because of that. It was the only time an account I've had has ever been hacked. Was because some third-party college that decided not to hire me for a job application I filled out left all of that data exposed. And 7 years after I sent out the application, they were hacked. So this scammer called me 3 times today, so I called them back and trolled them pretty good. And if you did not watch that video today, it was juicy, especially near the end. It was a very juicy article there. And so this article here is just a follow-up to that I think that, no amount of data about us should be able to be collectible without a search warrant. But even further, no company should also be allowed to collect data on us without our direct written consent. I think that is important. Now, of course, almost all of us would give that direct written consent anyway because we don't read the terms and conditions. And the sadder fact of the matter is to live in our modern society, you have to agree to terms and conditions of things you otherwise would not necessarily want to do in order to simply function in this world. And so we have to take that into account itself. And so this article here is one of those corner linchpin things that we really need to keep an eye on. And there's not a whole lot of information being said about this, but we probably need to jump out more and say have a little bit more to say about it. So the next article here is now that we've collected all this data, what happens when a company gives out false data? So this is actually a little article, a lawsuit that's going on that, although it's not very well publicized, this is actually a pretty significant thing because what happens is there's this company that is they are a stockpiler of data, basically like a credit reporting agency. And you can go in there and you can purchase, it's called Spokio, the name of it, it's right here. It's called Spokio. And Spokio is a company that has all of this data. And with all of this data, you can create an account with them, buy access to the database, and then you can go in and see all this information. Well, it turns out that this individual guy, this Robbins dude, he realized, or he found out that the profile in him was completely wrong about several things. It indicated his education was higher than it was, his income was higher than it was. I think they had a lot of other things true. And so if an employer had access to this database and ran things through, he argues that he might have been passed over on a job because they thought he was overqualified, when in reality he wasn't. And so this is actually a case that's been kicked around now for about 5 years. And this guy is trying to come out and say that does this data, essentially the question is false online data enough? Or the problem is that in our legal system, for our legal system to go in and bring a lawsuit against somebody, you actually have to prove monetary harm. You have to prove that you are harmed financially, or else you cannot bring a suit against somebody. And this is the question, is simply having false data, or another article we looked at, I think last week, asked a very similar question, is a hack enough that we should be able to sue a company? And I agree, yes. We should be able to take legal action against a company who loses access of our data, especially if they do some stupid boneheaded thing like hire the cheapest third-party provider that puts all the data out on an AWS server and doesn't lock down the security groups. Duh. But that happens more often and more often. And then with this blanket trading of data, it's very easy for a scammer to simply go in and just legally buy all the data, and then they do with it what they want. And that is why I am in very strong favor of a very, very strong laws that says, as a private person, I want to restrict what any other company, for example, Microsoft. I am excising Microsoft from my life. I want to be able to go in and tell Microsoft, you may not have any more of my data. You have 30 days to completely remove all my data, and you may not add any more data you collect about me into it. We need to have stronger ability to do that so I have more control. Because if Microsoft has a habit of hiring the cheapest third-party contractors for all their stuff, I want to have the ability to say, no, that company may not have it. Also, we should be able to have the ability to say, can you provide that data to a third party or not? Is that difficult for infrastructure? You bet it is. Is it necessary in our modern era? Absolutely. We have to have more control over our personal data. And that's what this lawsuit is sort of about, is can we bring a lawsuit even if full calculated monetary damage is not available? Can we bring a suit against somebody who loses our data or has false data against us? Because, for example, it is illegal for a credit reporting agency to have false information about you on your credit report. Why can we not do the same for online data? Which is an interesting question. Because not only is there all this data, but there are spoofing tools that will go on and scrape data. So LinkedIn has been embroiled in this debate with this company. HiQ is basically analyzing a whole lot of data from LinkedIn, public LinkedIn profiles. And of course, this is significant because these social media companies like LinkedIn and like Facebook and other social accounts are moving and shifting their things into a more available, like more publicly available system. So there was a documentary called Terms and Conditions May Apply. If you can find a copy of that, I don't think it's freely available anymore. I think you have to buy it now. But if you had access to see that documentary, they track the privacy of Facebook stuff. So when Facebook first started, pretty much everything was private unless you explicitly shared it. As of right now, if you go onto Facebook and have never done any of the settings, if you basically accept the quote default settings, pretty much everything is public unless you specifically set it as private. And that is what they're trying to do. And so now with everything being publicly available, now what's going on is these companies will scrape them. If you don't believe this is going on, just jump onto Guru, jump onto Freelancer, jump onto Upwork, look at the jobs, and there's a lot of people asking for somebody to scrape X, Y, or Z websites so they can grab all this data. And so now we're taking all of this data. Now, Microsoft, who is the owner of LinkedIn now, LinkedIn's trying to say that no, that is illegal to scrape all of our data. These guys are saying no, it's not. And it does turn out that the courts agree with this company called HiQ that says, no, it's publicly available. You cannot stop them from scraping it. Now, if they got into a backend and scraped all the backend data, that would be illegal. But according to this, you can't. So moral of the story is, be absolutely careful what you put on social media, because this third-party company is scraping it all up. And what are they going to do with that data? Sell it to someone else. That's what's going to go on. And so that is the type of stuff that we need to keep in mind here. All right, couple little comments here. Haddock says, my cat sleeps 50% of the day in a crooked chair, then flies around the house. Yes, that's about what these cats do. Except that other one is still meowing loud. I'm about to go yell at that thing. Last update from Jay, YouTube fixed it. Yes. Yes, indeed. In fact, I was the third person to comment on that video. If you look in the comments, I commented on that third. Drivers don't come with it because of the licensing legal reasons, and my D-Link external card doesn't want to connect. No, Ubuntu 16 should have Broadcom drivers. I had some issues with Broadcom drivers initially on one of my laptops, but anytime I installed 16, or maybe it wasn't 16. I thought it was. I know 15 didn't. I thought it was 16 you didn't, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you are right, because I have Peppermint on that now, and I had to fight with the drivers again. It's actually pretty easy. If you have a smartphone, I just plugged my smartphone in, tethered, downloaded the driver, and did that. If that doesn't work, just download the driver from another computer and transfer it over with USB. That's what you'd do. Hey, Chater, how's it going there? Exactly why we need stronger data laws. If it gets leaked, you get spammed and hacked and other bad things. If it gets sold, you still get spammed. Yep, that's the problem. Because my agreement about what happens with that data, all of that, we take your data privacy, but every privacy policy I've ever read said, oh, we can share it with our third parties we're doing business with. Well, I do not have an agreement with that third party, so therefore they can do whatever with that data that they want, because us and them, and oftentimes they are completely undisclosed. I don't know what's going on, and so that is a huge deal. We need it to where we need written consent to collect or sell your data, and if we ask them to destroy it, we need good evidence it was destroyed. Absolutely. And I love that video from Brian Lunduke, too, about his Facebook and his follow-ups. Hey, Anarita, how's it going there? You joined in pretty early. I just covered a couple articles. Okay, it's also why I've started moving away from online services, deleted the Twitter, Snapchat, Outlook, Gmail, and others. Yeah, and I'm moving away from about everything. In fact, I'm using Ubuntu Mate as all my backup stuff. I'm working on servers. I eventually need to build an own cloud server. I need to do that too. I'm just experimenting with a lot of different things. Okay, so that's why I've started moving away. I only use YouTube, no other social sites. Yep, that's right. In fact, it was funny. I had a comment got left on my site today, or question really. Let me see if I can find it, because this was fascinating. And I made an assumption about this person's age, and I asked him am I right on your assumption, because this kind of ties into, I want to get in and talk about some of what the education system does to us these days. Because listen to this comment. Oh, come on, let's load. Load. Oh, he replied. Okay, so Mikey, if you're watching, so Mikey leaves this comment. Question, if you are not a fan of Google, what do you use to write notes or documents on? That is so millennial of a question, because they are so trained now. And he did say his age is fairly young, younger than me for sure. But the thing is that there was a time you talk about writing a document, and immediately what came to your mind, of course, is Word. Google has done such a good job by pushing this services on kids, apps for work, etc. that now when you think of writing a Google document, most of the world just thinks, oh, Google Docs. And that's exactly the comment that he left in here. And it's not a condemnation of this person, but I responded and said, you must be young. There are tons of applications out there better than Google Docs. And if you're listening, Mikey, the thing is that it's not Linux, it's the branding change itself, because there was a time that Microsoft Office was the absolute dominant in that world. And so he did respond back. So yeah, I use LibreOffice. Since I am a web developer, yes, I have more Google accounts than I like, but I only log into them on specialized computers and only when I have to be. And so every now and again, I think I have like 2 or 3 Google Sheets spread along that we have project stats on. You know, I work with some marketers that have just tons of projects we have always going, probably 10, 20 projects at a time sometimes. And so we do use a Google Doc back and forth that we can do things. But as far as I would never stop and think about writing a document. And this is that difference, because I'm actually working on a project with a young person right now, and we're working on a writing project. And of course, I'm doing everything on a computer, so I have the hard documents on my computer. He's doing all of his part on Google Docs. And it's just such a radical difference in how we approach the fundamental aspect of the life itself. But the problem is that it's not necessarily that, I don't want to use the online services, but for Google in particular, it's scary. But, that's what works. And so he writes those up and emails them to me from that. And so I can extract it out and put it on the hard computer. But that is just such a weird mindset, how all this stuff has shifted. And it is important that we are not always using all of these online services, because they're just collecting our data to use and to sell. We are the products in all of these. Greetings, Dr. Rob. How's it going? Next, you should boycott any and all cellular service. Switch to pay-as-you-go service as a crappy flip phone and use your smartphone as a pocket computer. Yeah, that's a neat idea. Pay-as-you-go type stuff. And I agree with you to an extent. I do like having my phone. Now, I use my phone for very little, but I do like having my phone and being able to utilize my phone as an internet connected device where I go, because I am, so invested in the tech world that I like having that. But the fact is that I keep my use to it as an absolute minimum. But yeah, that is a good approach. And if I wasn't so connected with so many different people and so many different projects around the world at a given time, I would do the same. That's why I took my business phones just back down to a basic flip phone again. I don't do much with my regular business cell phone number anyway. Nice haircut, thank you much. Stuck my head in a lawnmower. It was exhilarating. Let's come to the ISO. Me being that I didn't click and went pull the Raspberry Pi offline. Well, I do have a pay-as-you-go plan in my Android. I've rooted it, spends most of my time in airplane mode or in a Faraday box with its battery not plugged in. Yep, that's good. Hey, Mikey, how's it going there? Awesome. Yeah, hey, let me read the other part of your comment since I didn't read the full thing. It looked like I had another question since you're on. Let's see. And trust your opinion. Wanted to know your setup is kind of like those what's on your phone video, but for Linux. Personally use Notes, open source. Scriffa for encrypted, console organizing notes. Okay, if you are looking for like an online service, Colab particularly right now, the newer version of Colab actually has an Ubuntu Easy Install script. I'm really looking forward to playing with that. Haven't done that yet. But there is if you want to do something like Evernote type thing, I think that there are some note applications. I mean, me though, I use paper. I use paper, sticky notes, and a shredder. That's what I do for the most part. If it needs to go online, it goes on, online somewhere. If it has to be shared with somebody in a Google Doc is the best way to do it. I will use a Google Doc for that, but I don't stay logged into any of these services, and I use them as absolute little as possible. So that's kind of what I do is, I use LibreOffice on pretty much on my Mac runs LibreOffice, and all my Linux computers run LibreOffice. My Windows computer still runs Office 2007 because, hey, I have it, so may as well use it. So that's kind of what I do. Let's see. Hey, Colin, how's it going? Google Docs. Yeah, there's very few things I do Google Docs with, but Abbey Word works. Yeah, there's Abbey Word. That one works too. Agree, the education system is screwed and full of tracking and de facto standard. GAF G Suite, my GAF account is empty and everything stays there for as long as it needs to be. And that's actually what I recommend to the high school kids. If you're high school or younger listening in and your school gives you a Google account, do not log into that Google account unless you absolutely need it for school. Keep logged out otherwise. Have a specialized browser, whether that's on a phone, your computer, your Chromebook, whatever else. I don't think Chromebook you have an option, but only use the browser for the specific reasons, and as soon as you are done with school, you nuke that account. You never go back to Google again. That's what you want to do. I think VPN alternatives for cell phone services actually have good enough reception to compete. VPN alternatives for cell phone services. What do you mean by that, Mars? VPN alternatives for cell phone services. Hey, James Miller, how's it going there? All right. It's been uploaded from LibreOffice or other good applications. All right, let's go ahead and jump back to our next article. So Uber, of course, is in the news. Uber had a few things this week. I think I have two on here today. I left out the one where some Uber passenger was killed over some dispute with the Uber driver. Yeah. Guy's in Uber trouble. Couldn't resist. But anyway, basically, Uber was playing fast and loose with data and security. If you don't remember the origins of this, there was somebody I think it was in Australia or something, that made the company mad, and the CEO, or not CEO, some executive was literally walking around with this person's private full access. So basically, all sorts of people, essentially what happened is pretty much anybody in the company could access any customer's private data, to the full extent. No security, no logging access. There is, in theory, something that was put in place that would determine if somebody was unauthorized accessing data, but they never looked up to the alerts to the system. And so they come back and get hit up with this. They had a big fine needing to do this. And then what they needed to do is they have to subject themselves for like the next 20 years to every 6-month privacy audits. It's just crazy amount of stuff that they had to do in order to do this. But anyway, they got hit about deceiving customers about privacy and the data security. Basically, it was essentially like, yeah, it was fully available to any employee of the company at any time from anywhere. In other words, it wasn't secure or private. And so, that was kind of it. And let's see. I think we got a couple more here. This was a neat one. So this one here is this was actually an exploit found in software that runs. So NetSerang is the company, and the software is used for financial institutions. So banks. Let me see. Where's that list at? Now, of course, I couldn't find an actual list of people who use their services. What kind of companies or organizations? Based on the vendor profile, the attackers could be a broad set of companies who rely on NetSerang software, which includes banking and financial industries, software, media, energy and utilities, computer and electronics, insurance, industrial construction, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, retail, telecommunications, transportation, logistics, and other industries. In other words, any company in the world that might potentially use these products. So what's going on is that there was some problem in either the source code or compiling the source code for this that introduced a backdoor into the system that a hacker or whoever was running this this malware could actually get in here and intercept any amount of data, see any type of information. It was Kaspersky Lab that took this offline, but you can see it's literally, and it was a fairly sophisticated thing. It encrypted itself, so it's not readily available. It was there, but it could have been activated on any given system. And so for a period of time, let's see, malware have already registered domains. Covering July to December, which indirectly confirms alleged start date around mid-July. So basically, the software was affected and sold around the world for, it was a period of it was caught very shortly. So I'm trying to find where it was at. I can't seem to find it. Can't seem to find it, but it was like a 2-week period over the last few days, or last few weeks rather. But basically, any of those institutions could potentially have a backdoor in them. So if we ever have the ability to say, no, don't take or do anything with my private data, then that is certainly it. We need to keep that in mind. Oh, this is neat. iOS 11 has a cop button, temporarily disables the Touch ID. So if you have your iOS 11, hit the home button 5 times. It will pull up a screen that allows you to dial 911, enter the passcode to get into the phone, and it disables the Touch ID. So this is actually on the verge of some other questionable things that. Essentially, right now it's kind of known that a fingerprint can be compelled. A passcode, some people say it should be compelled. Some people say it should not be compelled. The law kind of says that's sort of a Fifth Amendment thing. You can be compelled to give your fingerprints. You may not be compelled to give a passcode. However, we're starting to challenge that, like the guy in Baltimore who, to the best of my knowledge, is still in jail and has been in jail for 2 years simply because he will not provide a passcode to open up a laptop. Mind you, this man has not been charged with anything. He is simply refusing to provide a passcode to unlock an encrypted hard drive. I think it's an external hard drive. That is a scary thing, that a man has been in jail for 2 years without being charged, without being convicted, simply because he will not give up what is very arguably a Fifth Amendment thing. What is our world coming to? So some people say that a passcode could be compelled. Some people say it can't. What this button does is it will disable disable that. Now the question is, if I temporarily disable my fingerprint on my phone, am I now not, quote, concealing evidence, and now I can be charged for it? But it's an interesting thing. Now, the other place I've seen a good use for this is there was actually a case on People's Court not too long ago where the lady had allegedly unlocked her boyfriend's phone while he was sleeping. You know, takes the phone over, unlocks it with the fingerprint. So keep that in mind, that if somebody has access to you because you're sleeping, they have access to your phone, you can unlock it in your sleep, and they can do all sorts of fun stuff on your phone. Woo-hoo-hoo. And so keep that in mind. So that's, I don't know, maybe another interesting application for this. But this was an interesting thing. It does allow you to block that, block that out. And then, of course, the next fun iOS-related thing, actually any mobile phone-related thing, this is actually a research article where they were talking about the third-party resources. So this kind of gets right into that middle of that debate, the right to repair. And some people, like the tech companies, will use this to say, see, you should not be able to repair it. And the opposition is going to come in and say, no, we need the right to repair it, and we need the right to be able to get the parts legitimately so we don't have to rely on third parties. Because what this research paper did, and we're not going to read it all, of course, but basically they worked out a module with, by currently cheap available material, you could put an extra chip onto pretty much any mobile device that would allow as a backdoor a data receiver, and it would send out any type of data that you might want out of the phone and to wherever the hacker is. Now, right now, those chips are still rather large, but they, like all tech, it's getting smaller. So it is feasible that somebody could manufacture a replacement screen for a mobile device with one of these small chips on it. And while a full authorized person might be able to spot the difference, you know, the guy at the mall that replaces your phone screens for $15 while you wait, he probably is not skilled enough to know that there's an extra piece of equipment on that thing. Of course, I just made an assumption about somebody, but, you know, take that for what it is. So this is something to keep in track of, you know, that not only do we have to worry about this, but is this something that hardware manufacturers might also be doing? That'd be an interesting thing. All right, let's go ahead and jump back over to comments. Where's my kitty comments? Yeah, there's my kitty comments. All right. Welcome to the Internet of Tat. Opera VPN for cell phones. Okay. Marble, notebook, and a pen for me. Yep, there you go. Uber. Yep, don't forget, every time you call an Uber, a poor little kitty like this one over here, they get clubbed down. I mean, gotta watch out. We're gotta adjust my kitty cam a little bit. Whoa. Well, see, he moves. All right. Are Wi-Fi phones still popular? I believe a friend of mine uses Wi-Fi phones. He said they work pretty good. If you count iMessage and Co., then yes. At least that's what you're talking about. Okay. That's Apple stuff, so I wouldn't touch it. So the 10-foot pole. Okay. Data, by definition, is not private because it means it's a documented replica of information it represents, which exists somewhere. Although you deleted your message, I agree. Huh? Okay. Hey, I guess that's Zanctus. How's it going there? Colin, how's it going? Okay, it was me accidentally flipped to my other account. No. Not related to iOS 11, has a new charging battery logo when it's dead. iOS 11 has a new charging battery logo when it's dead. Huh, I don't know. It's ridiculous. Jail for not supplying a password. How did they get away with that? Well, because he is being held in contempt of court for failing to unlock a drive. It still doesn't make any sense. But there's actually two people I know of. He's suspected of having child pornography on that drive. But the fact of the matter is, okay, you suspect that, then if you can't build your case without unlocking that drive in a reasonable manner, you probably don't need to be charging the guy. Just a thought. But, you know, that's kind of what the situation is there. I wouldn't give anybody my encrypted drive password. If I have open source software you use to decrypt it, make it so after 2 failed attempts, destroy the volume. God, I use electric black tape on my finger sensor on my laptop. Yeah, I use. I have some packing tape on my phone sensor for the fingerprint reader, and I have electrical tape over both cameras. LC taxi drivers are up in arms. They now have to let Uber into the airport. Oh, really? When will people not realize that, like, every time you call an Uber, a poor kitten gets clubbed? Right, Kitty? You don't want to be clubbed? No, you don't want to be clubbed? All right. Kitty doesn't want to be clubbed. All right. So now on to our topical section is silencing the enemy. Silencing the enemy. I've not used this background before, so let me know if it causes any noise. I'll go ahead and read a few more comments. Taxi drivers pay a lot of money to provide safety regulations for customers. Uber bugger all. Yep. How did they come to suspect they invented the charge? Isn't there also child porn out there that can be sent to a hard drive which can't be erased and is used as blackmail? Yes, in fact. I forget exactly what it's called myself. So what happened with that guy? He was a Baltimore police officer, and he got himself into some pretty suspicious situations. And it was suspected what he was. The prosecutor said that they had identified, bit packages that looked like suspected, bad material on the internet. And so they confiscated all of his other devices that were not encrypted, couldn't find a trace of anything. So they determined that the encrypted hard drive he had was probably something bad. And when the court ordered that he unlock it, he said, I don't remember the password. So he's been in jail ever since. That's the case on that. If you have encrypted drive, it defeats the point of encrypting it if you give up your password. That is correct. That is why we are supposed to have laws in this country that basically say that you cannot incriminate yourself. You have to build up a case. And that's the thing, is you have to build up a case about somebody in a reasonable manner. That's kind of that thing. All right, let's see. All right, so this was, of course, on the heels of the riot breaking out and all of the things out there, okay, kind of tied into that previous case we were just talking about. Some people are trying to stand for encryption. Other people are trying to fight encryption. And so what happens is that we get these hairy cases where it's like, we don't really want to force decryption of drives, but yeah, we don't really want to let a child pornographer go free either. And so you end up in this situation where, and who was it was talking about this the other day? Was it Lenduke? Who was it? I was watching a video the other day where he said, if you're against the argument, it was a very well thought out argument. I thought it was today. It's going to drive me crazy until I remember who that was. But he basically said, if you try and say that you're against, it was Louis Rossmann, I believe, where he was discussing the Google memo. He says, if you say that you're against this implementation of a policy, but in reality, if you say you're against the implementation, then the opposing view will say that you're attacking the thing itself. And so what the Google memo was saying is the guy was opposed to how such a thing was being implemented. He was not opposed to the viewpoint itself. In fact, he was very, very pro-female in the marketplace in that particular respect. But at the same time, he said, I'm critical about how they are implementing the policy. And so some people on the opposing view would say, well, attacking the implement of the policy is to attack the policy itself. So it puts you in that same situation. Here's a guy who potentially has child pornography on an encrypted drive. Well, you don't want the child pornographer to walk free. You don't want to weaken the cause of encryption. But it seems to me like this is being used as a means to say, see how bad encryption is. Without this encrypted drive being unencrypted, this evil guy is going to walk free. And that's kind of that problem. Well, this brings up the same exact situation. There's been this skinhead riot breakout this week, and then we have the websites that that were hosting this thing, and basically now it's come off the internet outside of one place we'll talk about in a minute. But pretty much what's going on here is it's turned into this giant thing where there's this website. They obviously have some things that I would disagree with, and they have this connected website on the internet. So the question becomes: does this connected website on the internet, should even this website be taken down or not? So Len Duke had a fabulous discussion on this. Oh, Kitty wants to come up and say hi. Roar.
Hi everybody, how's everyone doing today?
All right, so Len Duke had a very nice balanced thing he was talking about the other day about this, saying, yeah, I disagree with what this group says and does, but as long as all they're doing is saying words, and their words are not in violation of the law, then their site should be allowed to stay up. Okay? And so I understand shutting down a website that breaks real laws. Okay? But I'm not against a website that is being perceived as bad and perceived to need to be shut down simply because we disagree with what they say. Because while this case is being used with this horrible extremist group that apparently is violent, where does that line get drawn? So I was actually going to look this up and I forgot to, but one of the books that I have in my manuscript form still is, I'm talking about at what point in time, but particularly it's a Christian book about media entertainment, and I'm asking, where do we draw the line as Christians as to what type of media we can engage in and what type of media can we not? And I use the example in there, well, as a Bible-believing Christian, any degree of pornography is wrong. It's out of the question. The very few, Christians who have been Christians any length of time would disagree with that statement. The question then becomes is where does that bar start? Where's that bar end? Well, this is the problem with this is we take off this site because we disagree with what they say. Well, what happens when they disagree with what I say? What happens when you want to take my Christian site offline because you disagree with the fact that I just believe in the scripture as far as that stuff is concerned? At what point in time do you say that's offensive to you and so it has to come down, and who has the ability and that power? And so what's going on here is individual CEOs, like this CEO, if you didn't notice what, it wasn't Cloudflare, or was it Cloudflare? I think it was the Cloudflare CEO. He simply said, I woke up today and was in a bad mood, didn't like what the guy said, so I took his thing down. He said, that's way too capricious. There should not be any one person who can do that. But Google took the thing down. GoDaddy took the thing down. Cloudflare took the thing down. Facebook, of course, is taking all their things down. So here's a group that has effectively been silenced for what? Now, where do we draw the line? Well, we disagree with what the group says. As long as they're only using words, let them speak. And if you don't like it, turn it off. That's my thought. So where can this group now go? Well, Tor. Right now, you can still find the site on and off on Tor. And people are like, Tor, why aren't you doing anything about it? And I love what they said. And we're going to go ahead and read the entire blog post from Tor. We've heard the hate-spewing website Daily Stormer has moved to a Tor onion service. We are disgusted, angered, and appalled by everything these racists stand for and do. We feel this way anytime the Tor network and software is used for vile purposes. But we cannot build free and open source tools that protect journalists, human rights activists, and ordinary people around the world if we control who uses those tools. Tor is defined to defend human rights and privacy by preventing anyone from censoring things, even us. Ironically, the Tor software has been designed and written by a diverse team, including people of many religions, races, genders, identifiers, sexual orientations, and points on legitimate, non-Nazi political spectrum. We are everything they claim to despise, and we work every day to defend the human rights they oppose. They feel powerful by spewing hate, whining, bullying, and promoting violence against others, but together we are more powerful. Tor stands against racism and bigotry wherever and whenever such hatred rears its ugly head. It is our work to provide everyone with the best possible security and privacy tools to human dignity, and freedom can be promoted all over the world. And I have to say, amen to Tor, because they're saying, you know what? All this thing is a website. That's it. And that's important. Let's go ahead and have a quick look at comments before we leave this topic. Oh, the cat is in my lap. There is no cat over there. Boom. Hey, there's a cat. All right. Let's see. Might as well be stored in some random AWS server. Yeah. Everyone has different skills and believe all people can provide all skills equally ridiculous. Okay. The way tech conglomerates are acting is a good thing because it's bringing in competition from less centralized platforms which formerly seem impossible to compete. It's one thing, once they have the power, they will go after all dissent, not only the psychos. And that's the problem, is that they will eventually go for you. And this quote is attributed to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, but it was actually Bonhoeffer's friend that said it. And it said, you know, first they came for the cripples. I wasn't a crippled, so I didn't stand up. I'm going to get some things out. You know, then they came for the Jews. I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't speak up. Then they came for the blacks. I wasn't a black, so I didn't stand up. Now they're coming from the Christians, and there's no one to stand up for me. And that's the thing, is that while I also agree with these people, I completely disagree with these people. At the same token, we need to recognize that as long as all they're doing is talking, let them blab their gums. They cross the lines into something else, pick them up, arrest them, prosecute them. But as long as all they want to do is talk, let them talk. All right. Soon we are going to be charged for just securely deleting files using BleachBit. Absolutely. Sadly, government uses this as a tool for all, not only criminals. Yep. Have you researched, search and destroy why you can't trust Google Inc? No, I have not. That sounds fascinating. Where's my pens? Search and destroy. What? No, that's mine. Stop it. The kitty's trying to win the show. Search and destroy why you can't trust Google. This thing is purring so loud, I'd not be surprised if you didn't hear it or not. Whoa. All right. Why the real goal should always be open source and decentralization. Yes. Anytime power is centralized, it is negative on everyone. That is correct. Okay, kitty, don't click my keyboard. The only individual censor the information they consume. Oh, hi, Pseudo Linux. How's it going there? Yeah, you're a little late. No, not too late. Okay, welcome to the internet. We are the FBI, and your opinion is invalid, and we will put you in jail if we don't like it. Yep. Guessing I missed the main topic. So, actually, we are right in the middle of the main topic, Piggy. See you, Colin. Talking about hate speech sites, we still have a few more articles. Okay. All right, so what I wanted to talk about for the next article is actually just talking a little... No, not that one. Wrong button. Where's my silence? There we are. All right, so I want to talk about Joe Collins' site. So Joe Collins put up this video yesterday. Now there's a new one, actually. It's let me refresh the page. It should have his new video up. Okay, so what Joe Collins did, of course, if you really want to learn a lot more about Linux than I can generally teach you, then check out Joe Collins' site. He's really good at this stuff too. He does a lot more terminal type things like that. So, now he put up these two videos. I did not watch the hour-long one, simply about installing Ubuntu. I mean, I know Ubuntu is offensive and everything, but this video and this installing Ubuntu script were demonetized. They were demonetized. And so he went up and did this video here yesterday. YouTube screwing us again, and the Linux is screwing itself. And I watched that video a few times because that is great. He makes some fabulous points in that video. The first is, YouTube, what are you doing? Like, this, what happened? Like, Joe Collins' site is tamer than my site, okay? I mean, all he does, look at the videos here. All he does is Linux tips. Like, he does more Linux than I do, okay? And so 2 of his videos were demonetized, and he talks about the videos saying, after 1,000 views, we're going to flag this. Well, many videos like this, they'll only get views for 1,000 or 2 is what he says. So you will have lost the majority of your revenue if it waits until it gets 1,000 views. Now, CPM basically says you get, I think the YouTube average is like 7.2 cents or dollars per click. Of course, you split that sort of down the middle. So you like every 1,000 videos, you might get $3 on a video or something. Maybe even that's kind of pushing it. But really, that is where most of the situation will be. And so he's basically talking about losing a lot of revenue. Now, follow up today is that YouTube did finally fix it. They did remonetize those 2 videos. But how many views did he miss in that? He put these up 3 days ago and 5 days ago. They only have like about 2,000 views each. So how much did he actually lose in response to that? And that's significant because, and the reason I wanted to stop and talk about this, now there's other things. Let me talk about the other thing he talked about first because it's good. Because it's something for the Linux community is, and I don't know which channels he's looking at, but several of the Linux community channels out there are really vulgar. And he's talking about how bad that is. And I'm completely with Joe on this, that it's not about censorship, but please guys, leave your bad language in your head. Because if we want to go ahead and introduce people to Linux, we need to stop being vulgar. We need to stop being, as Joe Collins points at, Joe Collins points out he says the boys club. We don't want the Linux channels to be a boys club full of vulgarities and all sorts of other stuff and backbiting and not caring. We want to help bring people into Linux. And this is kind of why I need to do more Linuxy videos. And less newsy videos, I think. I don't know. We'll maybe take my Wednesday news live stream and convert it into a Linux live stream. I don't know what we're going to do. But I definitely want to do more Linuxy stuff on the channel because we need to introduce Linux to more people. We are not going to do that if we're spewing out F-bombs and vulgarities and all sorts of stuff. We have to be decent people. But really, the reason I wanted to bring this up is going back to his previous statement was on the demonetization. He talked about, if they're constantly going to be demonetizing his videos, then he's probably going to slow down production because he's got better things to do. And I have said before, I am establishing YouTube as a secondary business to what I'm doing because I've seen the writing on the wall. And while web designers are not completely dead, we are a dying breed. There's too many other online services which in reality suck. However, as much as they do suck, they are also services that we really generally can't necessarily get around. And so as I look out about the things that I can do, I start to question what are the things I want to do. Do I want to be a web designer? And if I look back, I became a web designer as a professional out of necessity because I was living in a desert. I was the professor of chemistry at a college, and they decided to hire a local guy and let go of me and right at the end of a contract without any notice. Now, if they had let me know they were even considering this, I would have just applied other places, picked up a job somewhere else, and probably still been a college professor right now. Except I just got so fed up with the teaching at that time. So I lose the contract right at the end, the last day of the contract. I lose the contract, which is like makes no sense. Actually, they had signed another contract for the following year. They broke the contract. And so I lost that contract to avoid getting sued out of oblivion. They paid me the whole year of the contract, which was good. But then I'm in the middle of this desert where we had a 40% high school graduation rate, oil fields everywhere, and I'm this clean-cut dude with a PhD in science and academic. what am I going to do? I'm not going to be out in the oil field working on diesel engines, I'll tell you that. And not that I didn't apply to different jobs and things, but I'd already tinkered with websites and kind of wanted to do something at least for a while. And so I started my web design company. And that's really how I became a web designer. And then I looked at the numbers and said, I can make just about as much money here as I could as a web designer. So why not? And so that's kind of the history of where and how I got to where I am. But look at the writing on the wall, I wanted to do something else. And YouTube ended up just being, some friends of mine planted some seeds in it. And so I just decided I'd go ahead and give it a try. But if I really looked back in my life and in my past, you look at passions, you ask yourself, what are the things you would like to do? What are the things that if you woke up tomorrow with $1 million in your account and you had the ability to do whatever you wanted to do today or this month or this year or for the next 5 years, what is it you would do? And as I look back and question yourselves, in fact, I know we have at least a couple very young people on here, look back and say, what are the things you'd like to do? What are the things you'd like to be in your life? And I stopped and I looked back at my life and what I would like to do with my life. And way back when I was a kid, and I remember one of the things I always wanted to be when I was a kid is a writer. And I don't know why. I wasn't like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be whatever. And money never entered the equation. It was, I wanted to be a writer. I just wanted to write books. I wanted to write and teach people. And the thing is that naturally I'm a good teacher. I just have this ability to teach. And so I think that was part of me in liking and wanting to be the writer. So I went back through some old things. And does anybody remember the old scary stories to tell in the dark books? Well, these impacted me as a child. And wanting to be a writer, I decided to write my own. I am not going to read from this on YouTube. But I actually wrote my own little book, and it was horrible. In fact, it's pretty bad. And it's taped together, and this is a prize to me. It's bad. This is bad. I'm not going to read any of these things. Let me read you some of the things in the table of contents. Ooh, the bloody sword. The attack of the killer monkeys and the haunted family. But I look back and say, I always wanted to be a writer when I was young. Of course, I like choose your own adventure books. I wrote a choose your own adventure book, which is more than horrible. So I did that. But then as you look back over your life, you ask yourself, what is it you'd like to do? Of course, the first book I have ever had published, I'm not sure if it counts or not, my doctoral dissertation. If you want to go to sleep sometime, you can read this. It's a fabulous read. Here's a hint if you find yourself going to grad school. The longer your title is, the less content you need. So there's my title. But just a few years back, I published my first actual real book, Testing and Temptations, which is a Christian book. And I had such a blast writing this. And right now, I'm in the process of writing a few other ones. I have 2 manuscripts essentially ready for the publisher. I'm working on another project with someone else. And I'll say that that's what I'd like to do, is I'd like to write. And the thing about doing things on YouTube is I can get some ad revenue for putting these up. I have, of course, Patreon. Now, I'm a little leery of Patreon. And I will unveil why I'm leery of Patreon at a later time. So I'm looking at other things and other approaches that I can do to help support this habit of doing videos and writing books. Because really, I start my day with looking at some video ideas and writing. I do a block of work, I write some more, I do another block of work, including some videos, and then, that kind of gets me to the end of the day. So that's that ultimate take-home question. Now, the reason I bring this up in the context of Joe Collins' site and all of this is YouTube itself is among the people that are demonetizing a lot of channels. And I'm seeing a lot of channels right now that are losing a lot of ad revenue. And it hurts them on their bottom line. And I can't help but wonder, is it just squeezing out the viewpoints they don't like, clearing the things out because they want to have their own YouTube TV system, which is absolute garbage. If it turns into that, I'm done. I'm done over here. Because I don't have TV for a reason. I hate it. It's stupid. And the last thing I want to hear is some idiot on either Fox or CNN whichever their viewpoint happens to be. The last thing I want to hear is some idiot who is blabbing out the opinions and the approved topics from one of the top 6 corporations of the world. I don't want to deal with that. I want the independent news. That's why I like watching the Philip DeFranco show, is because I get a good balanced view and I see what's going out there. That's a great place to get things. And so that's the thing we need to focus on. What is your dreams? What is your goals? And how can you accomplish it? And that's why I bring this up in the midst of Joe Collins stuff is he does this as a hobby. I'm doing this because I want to turn this into something. Now, whether that's I'm selling books or I'm selling ad space or I'm selling, back-end access to private streams, whatever it happens to be, this is where I'd like to make some money for a while. And that's not super bad, I'm sure. But what it is it says I need to keep my eyes open. I need to watch out because there's bad stuff coming down the road if you're not careful. And so with that respect, I think that we have to keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and have a look at some comments as we get ready for our next topics. Talking here about hate speech site. We still have a few more articles. Okay. Selling laptops tomorrow. Good evening. Hey Mark, how's it going there? Sorry I came in late. I was watching one of your previous videos and tried to log in, and I kid you not, saw you went live. Huh. Whoa. Oh, come on. Come on. YouTube really needs to fix this commenting system. Jeez. I lost a lot of comments, apparently. Okay. Unreal how helpful you've been. Some of the things the Baptist Church does. Okay, I don't understand either. Lots of people are getting demoted. Okay, I know I've read that comment. I'm trying not to skip any comments here. There's this problem that sometimes you push to scroll down, it automatically throws you to the bottom of the thing. It's just like, no. So I always try and highlight a comment to keep that on the screen. Some of the things the Baptist Church does, doesn't agree with me on your spot-on viewpoints. Absolutely. Yeah, YouTube is sinking. Okay. Switch, but you've recently been doing 85% privacy and news and only about 15% Linux. Absolutely. And I want to switch and do a lot more Linux. That is what I want to do. In fact, I'm working right now on a video on how to building a development lamp stack in a server. The same thing I'm doing if you watch my WordPress tutorial videos. The same server I'm using for that. I'm working on a video right now on that. Hopefully I'll have it up by maybe the end of the weekend, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Problem for tech a long time. Hubris' reluctance to share knowledge. That's why I don't really put ads in my videos. Joe is so far inside the community guidelines, although Google's smart robots are saying, hey, I heard something that ends with uck. No ads for you. That's the thing. And Joe Collins is so far inside of those guidelines. And, I can only imagine that maybe they're just randomly demonetizing videos on larger channels. I don't know. I'm sure I decided away from Google as much as I can. Yep. YouTube has the worst closed captions. It's funny. It's probably the biggest reason some videos don't get monetized. Yeah. Joe Collins is absolutely right about keeping Linux videos clean and free from foul mouths. Absolutely. We're sorry to be late. I have to agree with Tom. We have to be more mature and respectable to each other. We want Linux as alternative OS for new users. We need to be professional. Yes. Used to curse a lot, but God help me with that. Correct my language. Language does matter in business and in life. It's unprofessional and trashy. Absolutely. In fact, there's a commercial, like sometimes like as an ads roll, I'll just be like, whatever, not really go. But there's this one ad, and I forget what it is for. It's been playing lately on videos I watch. And it's a company I was aware of. Right in the middle of the thing, though, they use a curse word and bleep it out. And every time I hear that, it immediately goes out, and I skip the ad because I don't want to support that crap. You don't want to talk about that. Let me tell you something. You offend me more with your ads than you offend me with your videos. Because if I think it's a video it's going to offend me, I don't watch it. But the ad, I don't always have a choice. Think about that, YouTube. Sure, your cat doesn't have a microchip on it. It probably does. Everything has a microchip. More users or more companies are able to invest and support developers. Friends, okay. Don't cuss at all, maybe hell, but in a biblical sense. There you go. That is good. Keep it up. Just put Linux in a very positive light. No. I love those books. Yeah. Great pseudo. Don't ever start. Yep. Done me harm in life more than it's ever done good. Yep. I wanted to be a rock star. How old is that book? You know what? I want to say I wrote this when I was in 6th grade, and so... Well, I think I graduated high school 20 years ago, so you do the math. 25, 26 years maybe? Somewhere around there. In fact, I remember I was so proud of it. These people, they were kind of like my foster grandparents. They stopped by, and I was so happy about it. They were these good Catholic people, and I was about as atheist as they come. They were these good Catholic people, and I'm like so proud of this book. Like, oh, look at this book I wrote. And my mom's like, no, don't show that to them. It was so classic. I remember that day. That was so funny. What sort of writer? Short novels? You know, for me, I actually write, mostly I write Christian. I have some other non-Christian ideas in my head as well. But mostly just Christian living. So this is Testing and Temptations, which is about the process of sanctification. That's really, because that's the one thing that our modern church does not teach us anything about, is the process of sanctification. We are so shallow. We just want people to pray for Jesus, but we don't really define what that means, and then we're left with a whole bunch of churches filled with empty people, and because it's sanctification. In fact, I have one copy left of a free ebook. If you'd like this free ebook, be the first to send me a private message on YouTube. I'll send you the code. So I have one left. I'd like to get that out of my office now. So. All right. More likely it's an influence from school nowadays. Kids act like they cuss 24/7 here, full of dirty lies. Yep. And that's the thing, is because they're all getting it from the media they're watching, because in the media it's the cool guy who gets on there and cusses up a storm. And that's the thing we want to try and not do. Fell into it. That's why I'm advising you should be radically different. Absolutely. Especially pseudo Linux. If you are a Christian, you are called to be radically different. If you're not a Christian, you're not called to be that. But you are called to be a peculiar people, is what the Bible calls you. All right. I need to stop getting Christian on this. All right. I do have a full Christian channel, though. Last thing I'll say. Our Walk in Christ, you can get some good stuff over there, but I'll leave the Bible stuff for over there. All right. Might not be the most religious, but cursing is some of the worst things you can do. I've tried not to do it anymore, as far as said, damn, only once on my scripts. Okay, that's good. I have Testing and Temptations. It's an excellent read. Awesome. Thank you. I do need to update it. There's a few errors in it, a few typos I want to fix. And some people said I should do like some study questions in it, so I think I might do that. Teachers see that and they appreciate that. When you grow older, you might want to get into teaching and see some superiors may be the ones that you get the job. Absolutely. Yep. In fact, one of the better contracts I've ever gotten was a recommendation from a college professor that I had 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I had this college professor, and she had recommended me to somebody. It was only a job I had like 5 years ago, maybe. It ended up being like a $30,000, $40,000 contract spread over a few years. Came because I was simply there. I was in Catholic school. If you swore you had to write 100 lines, no curse, no cheating with your double pens. Ouch. You understood me. I hate fitting in. Never want to fit in, pretty much like all this world. Fit in your way. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Okay, always treat each other the same respect you would from them. Most of the time you receive work. Okay, whoop. Lost my place again. All right. 2, read his book along with my wife. We've even been discussed the book between ourselves. I like his writing style. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I really got to get the next ones out. I actually just finished, last week I finished the draft of a book. I spent 6 weeks writing it. It's actually a parody. First time I've written a parody. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but I wanted to write a parody. I want to write different things. Let's see. Not watch TV over 6 months. Yep, absolutely. That's good. What's funny is that one of my teachers is very selfish. She says, I know what I'm doing. When trying to set up a projector, I told her to check the VGA plug. She says that 30 minutes later, she plugs it in. I'm the oldest person here, but at Pseudo Linux has a good point of view with current norms and stuff. Makes me not want to fit in. Yep. 2 thumbs up. Sticking up those scammers. Yep. No, I've been commenting like a maniac. All right. Brian, been watched TV in 2 years now, but we just got Hulu, so things might change. Yep. Why censor Linux channels? Oh yeah, Linux doesn't spy on you. If you have AdBlock Plus, it disables YouTube ads, and you pay for YouTube Reddit, which you shouldn't because it sucks. Well, that's why I actually, on the computer that I use for YouTube, actually does not have ad blocker, nor does it have my ad script. So ads will play on that because I support YouTubers trying to make money on ads. And so I let ads run on them. And if it's a fascinating ad, I might just click on it because that helps the YouTuber. All right, I ain't paying for something I can make better with an add-on. Yep. A book named Super Micro, which was based off my old cat, which still lives. Made it in 1st grade, printed it now in 27. Awesome. Mika, by the way. Recently repaired someone's iPhone. The back screen looked like it had more chips on it. Didn't recognize people out there could put data chips on screens. Hope your data isn't taken. Yeah. I have the script I wrote in 1st grade for a TV show I wanted to make, and personally, I can't make it out. It just scribbles to me and barely readable corny jokes. All right, let's go ahead and go with our next topic, which is called Bad Business. We're going to use our corporatocracy banner, even though this is not technically corporatocracy, but we're going to go ahead and talk about bad business. So this is interesting. Of course, Uber, like everybody else, has a binding arbitration agreement to use their app. Not only do you have to club poor kitties, but you also have to use their arbitrators. Of course, Federal Appeals Court says no, they don't have to get rid of that. You do not have the ability to sue them because in the little app right down here, there's a little sign up page that shows there is indeed a binding arbitration. And hey, if you didn't read it, you didn't read it. That's the message. And in reality, yeah, start reading your terms of conditions, people, please. Pretty please. All right. This one's good news. Oh, so happy to hear this one. So, of course, Google tries to go into a town. I think this is the one in Tennessee. Oh, Kentucky. So Google wants to get in there and drop Google Fiber into this town, compete with AT&T. AT&T tries, basically blocks them with a lawsuit. Finally, a judge said, no, AT&T, your claims are not valid. So Google is now allowed to lay fiber in Kentucky. Praise the Lord. Even though it's Google, it's competition. And frankly, I'd probably want Google Internet well before I'd want Comcast or AT&T or anybody else. I don't know. I have to think about that. Sleep on that topic. But pretty much the judge says, no, they're not interfering with your illegal monopoly. Oh, wait, hold on. They are interfering with your illegal monopoly, but that's okay because you have an illegal monopoly. So good. It's Google, but you know what? At least it's called competition, and I'm all about competition. All right, this is a neat one. So, of course, Microsoft's been making a big deal about Bing, and they come out and say, Bing, this comes on their Twitter ads. So this is from Bing's Twitter. We are bigger than you all think. 33% of U.S. searches, 16% of Canadian searches, 12% of Aussie searches, 20% Hong Kong, 26% Taiwan, 23% United Kingdom. Bing is growing. We're taking over. And I love the comment I saw in the bottom of the Ars Technical article on this because it says, is hilarious. It's like, yeah, how many of these people are aware and willingly using it? Because the problem is that this is occurring because everyone's locked into Windows 10 and your average user doesn't know how to change your search engine, alternate your browser, because if you're on Bing, or if you're on Edge, whatever it's called this week, if you're on Edge, you're using Bing. If you're on Cortana, you're using Bing. If you're using Micro, if you type something on your computer to do a search, it goes into Bing to give you internet results. even though you were only looking for, the file on your computer. And so they're coming out saying, this is bigger than you all think. We are taking over the world. And it's like, no. In fact, here's the funny thing. And the reason I bring this up is this is no different than the antitrust suit they were slammed with in 2000, 2001 around Internet Explorer. Integrating Internet Explorer into everything in their operating system so that it was anti-competitive. They're doing the exact same thing with Bing. Why aren't we shutting them down yet? Oh, it's a different political environment. This is expected for a company. That's kind of why. And so that's kind of the case here. So that is the ultimate question: is how many people are well aware of this and actually want to use Bing. Now, of course, there's other things, though. So one of the things is that with Bing is you can get Bing rewards, Microsoft rewards, I believe they're called now. So if you do searches on Bing, you get credit you can use for your Xbox account, or a friend of mine uses it to download clips for doing sound sampling. I'm like, no, it is not worth giving Microsoft all that data. Do you know why they're paying you? To collect your data. I don't care what they do with my data. You will when they start using your data. Because what happens, again, going back, I'm not all that concerned about the government overreach. I'm concerned about the corporate overreach. Because what they're doing is they're collecting the data to figure out every little bit about you so that they can push and push and push things to you that they know will titillate your temptations to separate you from money, even when it's not in your plan, not in your objective, and not in your best interest. That's what they're trying to do. They want the data so they can force you to buy. Because we are collectively fairly undisciplined when it comes to how our money and our spending habits. And it gets even worse as we start using credit cards and debit cards and auto paying and signing up for these services and signing up to mailing lists and getting all these coupons. And that was the thing last year. It was 2 years ago in our Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class. We were talking about the coupons you get in your inbox. And people were talking about the fact that the coupons that you get in your inbox are just so prevalent and they just make you buy so much. And it's like, well, I might very well use that coupon for buy one, get one free off a taco at Taco Bell. The coupon is what planted the seed in my head to go to Taco Bell. And then, of course, I drive by a Taco Bell nearly every day when I go to the post office. So at what point in time do I swing on in there for a taco when I did not intend to do so? That is what they're doing with all that data. They are figuring out what it is. What are your hot buttons? It's the same thing that the devil does with your temptations. He pokes and prods at you at everything until he finds that one thing that makes you fall. And then once he makes that fall, he keeps pushing the button and the button and the button and the button until you give in. That is what they're doing. It is a devious scheme to separate you from your money. And I believe, by the way, if you are in the Center County area, we are doing another FPU class. I think we're starting, I think, mid-September. So PM me if you want any details on that. So we are teaching FPU again on Monday nights. All right. Do I have my place marked? Yes, I do. All right, good. And so that's Bing. Let's go ahead and have a look at our last one on this one. Oh, this was neat. Yet another one of those exciting Internet of Things devices. This is a lock on your house. The 6i and 6000i, they pushed out an update that was supposed to go to a different lock. They pushed it out to the wrong one, and it bricked the locks. So now people that were relying on their smartphone to enter their house because of their smart lock on their phone, their lock doesn't work anymore. So you have two options, people. The back portion of the lock can be returned so that the software can be updated. Total time to turn on. So you take out the back half, mail it to them, they fix it and send it back, and it takes 5 to 7 days. Or we can ship you a replacement lock for you to replace, and then you send your old faulty lock back. 14 to 18 days. So to mail it to them and have it mailed back to you takes 5 to 7 days, but for them to mail you a new one takes 2 weeks? Is this business smoking crack? Okay, why do you even want an IoT lock? Now, of course, this, by the way, is the lock that is apparently in the Airbnb. Basically, I'm going to call that Uber for Uber for somewhere to stay, so I wouldn't trust that either. But basically, it's a way that all of these people can have illegal hotels and motels scattered around cities, buying up low-cost property, driving up costs for the rest of us, and then they can, of course, lock the phones on their devices and mail access codes to people. And that's kind of the reason why to get a lock like this. But to me, it's just weird. Why do we need an Internet of Things lock? And why is this company so silly that they wrote a software package that did not self-validate itself, so they brick it? And then why is it taking 2 weeks to get a new lock, but less than a week to have yours mailed out and then mailed back? That's fascinating. Yep, that is fascinating indeed. Fascinating indeed. All right. XOCE desktop finally installed after a stream. I'll play some U-Turn Team Fortress. Okay. I will never club a kitty, nor will ever use Uber. Awesome. Hugs from Brazil. Hey, Brazil. How's it going there? I bet DuckDuckGo/start page is probably more popular than Bing. Actually, it is. I believe that if anytime you do a search on DuckDuckGo, it also shows up as a Bing search. So that is possible. But start page, I'm not sure. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see the stats of is DuckDuckGo and start page. How about particularly going back to that question, though, how many people really intend to use it? That's the question. Bing is growing because people don't know they're using it. Yep, that's it. Escape from Windows 10. Escape from Windows. Well, Windows 10 is taking over the world. Yep, escape from Microsoft. Already did. Done. Big run away from it. Yep. Bing for Microsoft fans and people that don't know they're using it. Yep, that's it. Only things I use Microsoft is Visual Studio and Windows 10, sadly, and not connected to the internet. And it is locked and stripped down to core. Yep. Try Vivaldi. I need to do another top 10 browsers, looking at the top 10 browsers, or the top 5 browsers that I didn't look at last time. I think I have a bunch of them. So all my computers use start page. Yep, that's what I do. Scary how much data, this data marketing stuff coincides with government INC control. Yeah. Disable ads from DuckDuckGo, but I might donate to them and to Tom, leftover money. Yep. Only thing I like with Windows 10, it drives people to Linux. Yep, that's what it did for me. Bing is the new dark side. Join the rebel, Linux, to fight the evil empire. Yep. Windows 10 is locked with the Bing search engine and the Edge browser. We can't change to another browser or search engine. Yeah, especially if you have Windows 10s. The new Windows, absolutely. That thing is so locked down, it's crazy. Which is exactly what I predicted was going to happen. Coupons are terrible. My grandmother's into crafts and stuff. Michael's overpriced craft store. Sending her coupons so she's tempted to buy more. Yep. In fact, I was going to go to the local Weiss store and use a coupon that just randomly showed up in my mail, addressed to occupants. So, good thing they weren't targeting me specifically. I've never used a card in that store. I always pay cash and I use the store's card. But I go in there to use my coupon. And there's a head of lettuce, not wrapped in a bag, just a head of lettuce sitting on the floor. The Weiss employee walks down, picks up, throws it back on the shelf to buy. I emptied my cart and walked out. I'm not buying from that store for a while. Bigger nutshell. We keep your info safe. You're safe with us. Your info is secure. We won't let them access it. Oh, that is so funny. I was in Best Buy the other day. I wanted to buy a switcher to allow me to easily go between share my monitor between multiple computers. So I'm buying a switcher, and I'm over there, and I got my cash in my hand, ready to buy this thing. And, oh, man. So I'm over there, and the people right in front of me, they got suckered into signing up for a Best Buy card. And the guy is like, oh, yeah, there's a little bit of data collection. It's kind of scary. We can look up all your data right here, but we don't share it with anybody. I'm just like bust up laughing. Like, oh, yeah, you do. Read your own terms of service, lady. Oh boy. Get real deadbolt install that. They're on every drug in the world that took 20 shots. And took 20 shots. Your washing machines now have wireless alarm let you. Yeah. So my washing machine can text my phone when the laundry's done. The buzzer's loud enough. Do you see that Brian Lunduke's Internet of Things Will Destroy Us All? Yes, that is an awesome video. You should all watch that. Watch Brian Lunduke's The Internet of Things Will Destroy Us All. It is awesome. It's quicker to kick down the door than it is to unlock it with my smartphone at the door. Yep. Now, I had a keyless entry system when I had my house out west. It wasn't a smart one, but it was a keyless entry system. I just go in and enter a passcode. Loved that thing. Absolutely loved that thing. But I would never do a smart one. Can lock and unlock my lock with my phone. Yep. Till my phone dies. Yep. And probably make my own smart lock with NFC and a laser pattern key. Yep. Probably like that. You know there's a thing called a key. I know. Windows 10 dual boot with Linux Mint. They probably sell info of that. All right. Last two articles are about some scamminess. Let me find my generic. Oh, wait. Hold on. I have... Let's just go... Let's see. No, I do have a scammer one. Yay! Scammer one. Scammer videos. All right. So this is a neat one. Watch out if you are buying things on Amazon. Watch out for Amazon sellers that have a lot of products, very low feedback, that are new to the site. Basically, what's going on is some scammers are figuring out how to game Amazon now. So they're putting in a whole bunch of things, selling stuff, and never really shipping it, getting a lot of money. But hey, at least you can have Amazon return the products that you did or didn't get without any real trouble. But definitely watch out for this. Basically, what they were selling is devices that are or like products that are significantly cheaper than they should be. So look out for those things. Scammers are trying to now building ghost accounts on Amazon. So be extra careful when you're buying stuff on Amazon. And this is fun. The scammers selling the resorts did get caught up in a class action lawsuit. If you were called between July of 2009 and March of 2014 on a residential or cellular telephone by RMG, during which RMG offered free cruise with Carnival, Royal Caribbean, or Norwegian Cruise Lines, then you can come over here, fill this out. They're offering up to 3 incidences, $300 per incident. So you can make up to collect up to $900 as part of this class action if this qualifies. Now, this is the same exact people who I was talking to today and who were on a few of my other scammer videos in the past and that I had recorded. But guess what? I can't be part of this suit because they changed their company 3 or 4 times since this one, quote unquote, ended. And so it's just kind of a whack-a-mole game with the scammers. Oh boy. It's cheaper to build a lock with an Arduino and more features than it has ordered a wireless lock. Yep. 844-763-5358. Scam them all you want. Okay. Let me tell you the number that was scamming me, those idiots. 612-345-3992. Emily the robot will pick up and make sure that you're not over 70, and then they're going to try and sell you a scammer. Oh, make sure you make over 50,000 a year too. Watch that video I did this morning. It was quite comical. A fake 1 terabyte USB for $20. Yep. Last time I was on there, I seen a car stereo for 99 cents and $239 shipping. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Well, I think it's about time we wrap this bad boy up. So should we feed this kitty some kitty treats? Kitty knows it's the end of the show. Oh, you want to come over here? Yeah, come over here. Come over here, buddy. Look. Jump up here. Jump up here. There you go. Ow. He bit me that time. Hold on, kitty. Aww. And, oh, you like the smell of that, don't you? Whoa! I should really contact Temptations and see if they want to sponsor this show. Should I sponsor, should we do that? Should I have Temptations sponsor me? Give them pictures of this cute cat? Yeah. That's it. That's it. That's the end of the show snacks. Yeah. Oh, he's a happy cat now. Oh, he wants more. No, that's it. You have exceeded your limit of snacks. You have exceeded your limit. Yes, you've exceeded your limit. Want to say bye-byes to everybody?
Bye-byes, people. I hope you enjoy switching to Linux.
All right, folks, we will catch you guys later. I think I will get to a tinfoil hat time on Sunday. My Sunday, though, is a little in the air, so I may not happen. Anyway, have yourself a good one, folks. I hope you enjoy switching to Linux.